Good morning. Thank you for having me today. I am very excited to be here, but I have one caveat I have to share. Last time I preached at a UCC in rural Oklahoma, 6 months later they fired the pastor, so I just ask that you not do that. They also left the UCC because they realized they weren't as open for me as they were others, so it was a whole experience, so just don't repeat history for me. My name is Angie. I am born and raised Denverite, except I left for 10 years before I boomeranged home. I've been married for 12. My wife and I have been together for 16 and a half years. We have 2 dogs, a cat in hospice, and a cockatiel, and we lost our first dog this week. So if I look tired, it's because I am. Sleep has not come easy. I graduated with my Master's of Divinity from Phillips Theological Seminary in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2016, but I'm still not ordained. I've been a bit of a vagabond in my church life, born and raised Methodist, moved to the MCC church, and I've been with DOC now for almost 10 years. I'm a member of Cairn Christian Church in Lafayette, which is where I met Tundaway. Currently, I'm an elder, chair of visioning, chair of AV and chief soundboard operator, and now serving on our permanent pastor search and call committee. I work as a brain injury advisor for the Brain Injury Alliance of Colorado, helping folks regain skills for a more independent life. And I'm currently navigating what bivocational ministry would look like, how to do both at the same time. Today I want to talk about trees. Trees are some of my favorite things. Cottonwoods and aspen being 2 of my favorite. Cottonwoods being the only tree that really moved from Colorado to Kansas and Oklahoma with me. One of my earliest memories was riding in a car from Denver to Evergreen to pick up my baby sister. We're both adopted and she was in foster care. And on that ride, thinking to myself, I had never seen so many trees. Before the age of 4, I didn't know that green had so many different shades. I've even often joked that trees are my spirit animal. When I go camping, I find a spot that has as many trees as possible. I hang my hammock between 2 and set my tent beneath another one. It fills my soul to sit beneath an aspen and listen to its tiny cymbals in the fall, clapping to the rhythm of the changing season. And lately, I've been trying to design a new spiritual practice for myself. Working so much and owning our home for almost 2 years now, I found myself to be a bit of a homebody. We live in a townhome community, so there's not much outdoor privacy. I don't spend enough time with trees anymore, is what I found. So I began to look at the art of bonsai. After all, I'm a creative person, crafts, poetry, writing, pottery, though I don't currently have access to a studio. But I don't always do physical art either. So what is bonsai, for those who may not know? It is the art of miniature trees. It began in China and was exported to Japan around the 6th century and became a Japanese tradition. It takes years to become a bonsai master. It's essentially creating miniature trees that are grown in pots. It's done through pruning, wiring of trunks and small branches, root reductions, creation of shapes and twists and turns. The bamboo up here looks like it's been designed as an indoor bonsai. It's been shaped. And any type of tree can be a bonsai. Popular ones include Japanese maples, juniper, jade. The oldest ones in the world are thought to be more than 800 years old, with some believing that the oldest one may be over 1,000. They're expensive because it takes years to cultivate. And the most expensive trees, the ones that might be for sale, not the 800-year ones that are invaluable, well, they run a $1 million or more. Now, I've always been fascinated by these small potted trees. Their trunks with that aged look, woody, full of stories in the palm of your hand oftentimes. Now, as I began this investigation of what bonsai is and how I might get started in this, I've watched enough videos on YouTube, I feel I should have earned a certificate at this point. But bonsai can't be learned by watching alone. You must do it. And I have started. Boy, is it hard. And through my research, I also realized how much Western cultures don't understand bonsai. And there are even groups out there who find bonsai to be cruel and unnatural. These arguments discuss the limitations that are being placed on the trees, that the trees are unable to reach their full potential, and that this is in contrast to God's intended creation. Trees were created to be big, tall, to bear fruit, and to create shade. So I've reflected on these arguments. I've watched videos about starting bonsai from nursery stock plant and how to select the branches to keep and which ones to remove. And it is hard to choose a branch and cut it off. And I saw that potential would be permanently changed, but I have not experienced cruelty. In doing it and watching it, I have seen care and intention. And our scripture this morning talks about pruning, particularly fruiting trees or vines, to ensure that the amount of produce being grown is at max capacity. If a branch bears no fruit, cut it off and burn it. This way, the nutrients flow to the productive branches. It then alludes to God pruning trees and pruning out unfaithful. But what we have to remember is that this was written 2,000 years ago, and back then food was scarce. Pruning unfruitful branches was required. Without food, a family could starve, and without abundance, a family would not have extra to sell or trade. So this was common knowledge back then and made sense in the analogy to God's people. We are the vine, I am the vine, you are the fruit. If someone's not fruitful for God, are they welcome at the table? John wrote this believing that the second coming was just around the corner. And today's world, which John never thought would exist, we live in a country of abundance. We live where most of us don't need to tend to trees. And oftentimes people just think of trees as plant and forget. We don't go out every day to prune a tree to make sure its branches are healthy. After a storm, we might check it out, but that's about it. Homeowners have learned how to keep their trees living long by pruning low growth, and utility companies have learned how to prune trees around power lines to prevent outages from broken branches without killing the trees in the process. And both of these examples are pruning. Yet these are apparently acceptable forms of pruning to these groups because the tree is allowed to continue to grow tall and full. Their overall potential is not limited. Well, this got me thinking about people. Growing up, I was labeled highly gifted and talented, and this shuttled me into specific programs. Today, I would be labeled twice gifted, high intelligence with ADHD. All through school, I was told I had so much potential and would do great things. Not could, but would. But what I never heard was that my growth would have limitations, and ultimately, my potential would have restrictions. At 10 years old, fibromyalgia onset, and I've had chronic pain since. I'm not a marathon runner. By college, school was no longer easy, and I earned my first Fs. I experienced a mild brain injury during surgery when I was 21 that created memory issues and exacerbated the ADHD. I lost my dad at 26. I graduated both undergrad and grad school into an economy that didn't make it easy for my generation to be successful. I've experienced job losses from firings and layoffs, burned out from not understanding my brain and my body. I've gone 7 years since my master's, still not using either of my degrees. And at almost 40 years old, I have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. Neuropathy took away the ability to play stringed instruments. Life has pruned me. Through storm breakage and intentional cuttings, my potential has been changed. And isn't that true for all of us? Don't we all lose branches, height, and girth through life? So why is bonsai cruel? My answer, in short, it isn't. And in fact, we could learn a lot from the faith of a bonsai. The faith of a bonsai. I have a creator, an artist, a tender, a caretaker who has a plan for me, a design. It might involve some branch loss. It might involve wiring and changes in shape. I know I'll be watered daily and fed regularly, all of my nutritional needs met. I know I am loved and will be cared for now and in the future. I know that I'm being created for the future because it takes 5 years for changes made today to be seen and appreciated. I am created for generations to come, and my care will be passed on to the future of the world. I believe we could all benefit from viewing ourselves a little like a bonsai. We've been conditioned in our culture to value ourselves for productivity. Those that can produce greatly are rewarded greatly, and those who can't are destined to live in poverty and squalor. But what if we viewed ourselves and others like a bonsai? We are all miniature versions of the Creator. We are all designed artfully. We prune ourselves for beauty, intentionally removing what is dead, what is weak, and what drags us down. We are individual in our own pot, but our beauty shows greatest when displayed beside others, so that our uniqueness is apparent. Some may produce fruit, and others may be barren, but we are all valued more than we could ever realize. We are fragile. Oh, our bonsai fragile. We require a balance of water, air, sun, and food. One wrong step and we could easily wither and die. We can have an impact now on future generations if what we create can withstand the weathers of life. We can teach new generations what it means to care for the lonely and the barren. What would it look like for us to prune ourselves, not for production, not for productivity, not for the benefit of what others may think of us then, but for our own beauty? What branches would we remove? What shapes would we change ourselves into? There are numerous styles of bonsai. There's the upright formal and the upright semi-formal, cascade and semi-cascade that flow down out of the pot. There are ones with multiple branches, multiple trunks, and even multiple trees in the same pot. What design would you give yourself if you could change your shape? If you focused on the beauty of your life and experiences? So as you continue through the season of growth, I hope you reflect on bonsai and what having the faith of a bonsai could mean for you and your communities. Amen.